All right. Are we ready? Are you ready?
Always.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready? Sure.
Yeah. I'm always ready.
I
Just waiting on you.
am always ready. I am always ready.
I'm Josh Sigman.
And I'm Brynn Rouse.
I'm a mortgage guy with a passion for money, business, and elevating my game. Brynn is my co-host. She's my friend and marketing director for my mortgage team.
That's right. I'm a marketing girl, a mama of 3, and wife of 1. And like Josh, elevating life, business, and relationships, well, it's my jam.
This season's topic, elevate your game.
What do you want?
Do you want to push personal limits, find joy, be more present?
Be a better parent, have a sexier marriage, make more money, save more money, start your own business, develop a hobby, or strengthen important relationships?
Impact the world, be a better boss, or create a stronger business? Then you are ready to elevate.
And this is the place to do it.
Are you ready? Sigman Sense Season 3, elevate your game. All right, so what are we talking about today? I know what we're talking about. Go ahead.
Okay. So we are going to talk about, first of all, welcome back to Sigman Sense. Yay. Super excited to be here. For those watching on YouTube, you can tell we're kind of in a new little location here because we are podcast nomads.
I like this look, though.
I do too.
Pretty fun over here.
It's very, it's awesome. So today we are talking about ways to elevate your college experience.
Yeah,
So,
and you can expand that. It's really after you leave the nest,
yeah, for sure.
right?
And so I think the idea came from Josh was giving advice to somebody on, hey, if you had to do everything differently, what would you have changed? Or
Yeah,
wait,
one of my best friend's kids just graduated from high school, and he reached out to me about 2 weeks ago and was like, hey, I just have a couple of questions for you. And he said, if you could go back and redo college all over again, what would you do the same? What would you have? What do you regret doing? And what do you regret not doing? Could you just give me some advice? Which was actually really great questions.
I just want to do the regret.
Wigwet.
It's been a while. I would love to hear the regrets list. That would make a really entertaining.
Well, there's regrets that I shared in a non-recorded format.
I know. Now we want one on a recorded format.
There's definitely a few. But yeah, I think if we work through a list, I basically texted him back 12, 13 things. And since then, a couple more times I've texted him afterwards, said, hey, man, here's 2 other things I thought about.
Yeah.
But it's worth sharing because I think that's just good things to be thinking about as a young person anyways. And maybe you're an adult and you have some kids are about to go off. I just thought that was really cool that this kid actually reached out and just said, hey,
I
just
love
give me some
that.
advice.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Which really goes back to asking better questions is usually a secret of success for anyone. So he's just one of those guys that's going to
be inquisitive.
Go far. Yep.
Be inquisitive. And have the nuts to ask.
Yep. I had 2 of them. There's 2 different gentlemen that are both 18 that both reached out. And you can tell they came from the right family because they're asking the right kind of questions, and they're hardwired to be inquisitive about how to be successful.
That's really
cool. And it's very cool. Very, very cool.
That is very cool. Awesome. All right. Well, I have a few things on my list, but why don't you kick it off?
So if we're, it's going to sound like it's specific to college, kind of going into it. But like I said, so many of these will apply to other things. When it comes to college or anything at the young age, I think that you have to learn how to love learning.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, to me, college was just learning how to learn in a totally different format when you're not being, your parents aren't yelling over your shoulders and you're kind of managing your own calendar for the first time, and you might only have 1 class a week, but it's a 3-hour class, and there's lots of fun stuff to do in college. And so the distractions are real.
Yes, they are.
And so the piece of the puzzle has to come down to, you got to keep learning how to learn and love to learn in general, and be really interested about your world.
I always said it takes 4 years to figure out college and exactly how to do it. Surprisingly, it takes 4 years to figure out
That's funny.
what classes to go to, what ones you don't have to, how much you have to study, how do you manage your calendar, how do you reverse engineer your grade to figure out exactly what you need to make. And it takes about 4 years to do that.
That's really funny. I would say that's coming in with a blank slate. I think that's true. I think that you can get the edges. It was not me, but in high school, there's some kids that got to figure it out before they even went. And it's how to manipulate your grades to get what class you have to take to get the best GPAs to get in the best schools, right? That game is being played at a very young age these days.
That is being played at a very young there age. Is a lot of strategy around that.
There really is. But what it really comes down to is we've talked about some of these things on different podcasts before, but it's interesting to me. Like there's a stat that's out there you can go find. It's something like over 80% of all males over age 18 will never read a full book ever again. So you're forced to read some books in high school, but more than 80% of all males will never read a full book cover to cover again after age 18. And so, whether you graduate and go to college or don't, the thing that I would go back to is you got to stay studying something and learning about something and improving in some way. And so the loving to learn and learning how to love to learn is a lifelong skill that I think really serves people really well. You look like you're looking for your list.
I can't find it. I'm like, didn't I just write it here?
I feel like you can find anything in that book except today.
I know exactly where it's at.
That's all good.
Mine, go ahead with your second one while I look for
I was just going to keep on working through because to me that really dovetails into time blocking and using the damn smart calendar the way it's supposed to be used. Right?
Yeah.
And I really think that at this point, most everyone has some sort of calendar option within their phones. I don't see many flip phones around there anymore. And so, but whether it's that or a computer, learning how to time block is super, super, super important. I was talking to a very close friend of mine who works at FedEx. And the FedEx schedule, as an example, this guy throws boxes for a living, right? But the FedEx schedule is updated every single day. So you could have a shift that you did not know you're working on Saturday that pops up on an app for Saturday morning. And if you're not paying attention, you literally get marked up. If you have 3 marks, you're fired, period, end of story.
Ouch.
And so at least that's what was relayed to me. So the point is that we have to learn to use technology from an organizational perspective because your future employers are going to require it anyways.
Yeah.
And so using the calendar to kind of back into, okay, not only what classes do I have to be where and when. I remember back when I had my first week of college, just carrying around the piece of paper, trying to figure out where am I supposed to be, how long it's to take to walk there, figuring all that stuff out. But once we figure out the basics, it should all be in a calendar on your phone, including study time, including when your professor tells you got to write this report by the end of the year by May. Don't put it down for May, put it down for like April, get it done a little bit earlier. But you're learning how to do that stuff, I think is super, super, super important. And that actually goes into what I was going to say was my number 2, which is call your parents more often. So Ty, one of the kids, literally, he calls me the first Wednesday of every month at 8:30 in the morning since he went to college. And I said, awesome. Are you calling your parents too? He's like, yeah, I call a lot. I was like, perfect. Well, there should be at least one time that your mom knows that you are going to be calling for sure every single week, no matter what.
I love that.
And it's something that I would really highly recommend because I did not realize that when you graduate, you've seen your parents 90% of the entire amount of time that you're going to spend with your parents is over. 90% is over when you leave to go to a workplace or go to college. 90% of it. Yeah. So as a parent who's got kids that are about to graduate too, like, I want that damn phone call. I want my time, even if it's 10 minutes every single week. I want my 10 minutes.
It's been fun. So, we did it. We got one into college. It's amazing. And we do hear from her. She's very, very genuine, and that's good to hear. She does. She calls us or wants to FaceTime like every Sunday. And she initiated that, which I think is great. And so,
good for her.
Yeah. And we talk more now probably than we did when she was in the house. Because like I've said before, I swear it's God's way of protecting our hearts and being okay with them leaving is they just make them real unbearable to be around. So you're like, please get out of my house. And now it's just, it's refreshing to hear from her. It's fun. But yeah, call your parents. Call your dang parents.
Time manage. It's simply put it on a calendar to stick to it. When your reminder goes off, it's like, oh, I'm walking to my class. I'll make that quick call on the way to class. Just put it in the calendar.
Ooh, I love that. This is not on my list, but filling your spaces, your space, like how do you utilize your walking time? How do you utilize your driving time? Like use every ounce of time that you have to put in productive things.
Yep. I can keep going. Do you want to go to the next one?
I found my list.
Go for it. What's your first one?
Travel.
Oh, yeah.
I would. So one thing that I don't have regrets, but this one kind of is a regret, is that I didn't travel or study abroad, and I really would have liked to do that. I really would have liked to.
That is absolutely one on my list. I did get to. In high school, I was able to do foreign exchange in Australia, England, and Jamaica, and I'm convinced that I get along with more people than most people because I've got something in common with a whole lot of people just because I got to live other places and travel
for
around,
sure.
right? And part of my story, my dad and mom literally used to move about every 3 years. So I got to go to I was in 49 of the 50 states before I graduated high school.
That's insane.
So I got to talk to somebody about something local just by traveling. And so when you have a little bit of freedom, it's really funny how far a shoestring budget can actually go when everyone's operating on the same thing. But I would highly encourage we live in our bubble, which is America, and getting outside of it a little bit goes very, very, very far for cultural awareness and appreciation of what we have. It's so disheartening to me watching people bitch about the greatest freaking country in the world.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of ignorance, because they haven't been anywhere else.
Yeah.
And you time and time again, you talk to somebody that their family's first generation, came over, or, look at there's a whole pile of Ukrainians that have found their way to the United States over the last 6 months. They'll tell you that this is a pretty damn good country, right?
Not too shabby.
We're not at risk of being invaded by Canada or Mexico. And so my point about this is that we got to get out and see the world a little bit to appreciate what we have, but also appreciate what they do have too. With some of the best food in the world.
Yes.
And there's the systems of like hostels. If you're like the public systems to take trains from country to country to country, which is basically in Europe as an example, you're traveling the East Coast. That's about all it is from a size perspective. You can go through 10 different states in the East Coast in a matter of a day. Same thing there. You can travel through lots of different countries pretty quickly and then stay for damn near nothing in a hostel. And so going with a group of girls or group of guys, and planning it out so you have some awareness of where you're going to be and be a little safety precautions, but seeing the world, I think, is super, super important.
I would say the travel study abroad portion is to learn a second language. To learn a second language.
Full
immersion. Full immersion.
Well, wait, I took like 5 years of Spanish.
And I took.
And I live in South Texas, and I still don't speak Spanish.
I took 3 years of French. Because that makes sense.
Right.
But yeah, like that full immersion of being able to come back with a second language. Yep. Holy moly.
Yep.
Like we need more of that.
It's which is why you might have noticed I picked Australia, England, and Jamaica. They all speak English. They have cool accents, but they all speak English.
I feel like you told me one time that you have to have a particular connector in your brain.
And mine is missing. I am incapable of learning language. That is a true story. But yeah,
is that a factual thing or is that a
It is
bullshit?
For me. It's definitely bullshit. Maybe somebody can educate me.
I feel like it's for me too. I don't get it at all. At all.
I can't remember names to save my life, and that's a brain thing for sure. So I'm assuming languages as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I think this is something worth talking about for anyone. And here's why. Everyone's all waiting to go on their trip one day, someday.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, the second you have a family and kids, it doesn't get cheaper, right? And you don't have more freedom. So all of a sudden you wake up and you're 20 years older if you're healthy and might have the means. And I really think that traveling in your youth is an exceptional experience.
Yes.
It's an exceptional experience. And if it's not travel because you can afford it, going back to you can apply this to other things. Going back to regret, never getting into the military. The military, if not from a standpoint of just service, because I think service is like that's my regret personally. But you can see the world.
Yeah.
Sign up for the military right out of high school. You're gonna see some shit that you've not seen in your lifetime.
Yes.
But from that would be my biggest regret is not doing that at that age for sure. Because there's an age limit. You can't get in at a certain age too.
Just try it. You're pretty convincing.
No, 30. I think it's 35 right now.
Is it?
I think it's 35, so I can't.
You're way older.
Actually, there is a cool story. It's a sad story, but it's a cool story. There is a story of a surgeon early in the Afghan war. It might have even been early enough to be in Iraq, where his son was killed overseas, and he had to write a letter to the president of the United States saying, because he was an ER doc, and he said, "My son served. I intend to as well." And he got he was got a written permission from the president, Bush at the time.
Wow.
And Bush gave him permission to serve the military, and he went over and served in Ford Theater at operations to operate on young men.
Wow.
So, but it's an exception from the president. I'm not wired like that.
You're pretty convincing.
Not that convincing. Yeah, but yeah, take it one step further and just assume that you can. And I'll tell you what, you talk to enough people on campus or just after work that are interested in travel. Don't say like we'll get around to it. Just start playing the date. I'll give you some great. It's plan a date and just do it. Like the COVID, for all the bad stuff that came out of COVID, one of the great things was you can basically get on an airplane to anywhere in the world for nothing.
Yeah.
There's people that are traveling that I'm aware of. They're traveling right now that bought airplane tickets to Europe for $300 because the airplanes were empty during that period of time. But people that were like-minded that were like, you know what, we want to travel next year, so let's go ahead and book it. Mm-hmm. They're going right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really big deal.
That's what I would say. Really get ahead of the booking because once you have kids that are involved in sports and everything, I mean,
life is over.
Life, as you know it, is over. And it's hard to find the time if you're behind the 8 ball already.
I have a couple second homes I will not see for the next 6 months. Literally. I will not have access to my houses for 6 months because we got so many sports between now and then.
Yep.
But
I know.
It's wonderful to see the kids play.
So put off having kids.
Yeah. Right.
Speaking of that, wait a little bit. Wait just a little bit. Just kidding.
That goes into one that I think is another good point, which applies to both guys and girls. But I put down create great guy friends and do road trips with them. Mm-hmm. So going back to traveling, you don't have to fly to Europe. If you jump in one of my favorite trips of my entire life, and you've heard the story, was I was studying, but I was studying in advance, so I actually could leave. I was studying, and my buddy walked in the door and said, "We're going to Mardi Gras right now. Are you in or not?"
We did that too.
And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "The car's rolling. We didn't want to leave you without asking."
And
I said, "Okay."
Roll.
And I literally put a backpack together in 5 minutes, walked out the door, and went to Mardi Gras for 5 days.
We did the same thing, but finals had just ended, and we all had like 3, 4, 5. Well, probably like a week before we were leaving to go home, and we just were like, "What about New Orleans?
Yep.
Let's do it."
You can just a couple tanks of gas, or find the buddy with the Tesla these days.
Great.
Pretty damn cheap to get there. So just figure it out. In fact, I know that for sure when we went, we didn't even have a hotel set up. We were just like, we're going to figure it out.
We'll figure it out when we get there.
It was great.
And we did.
It was great.
Awesome.
Let's go into the partying because we're talking about Mardi Gras, right? I do agree with partying hard, but I also think the same way from drugs, especially this day and age. Like, don't think I'm just like a dud. I've had my fun in my life for sure. But it's playing with a different type of fire this day and age.
Yes, it is.
When there's drugs out there that you have a drop of it and it can kill your ass.
Yeah.
It's just not like the risk reward at this point in with the chemical alterations of drugs is insane.
Yeah, it's just like knowing your boundaries. Like,
Yep.
Here are my boundaries. Yep. I drink.
Yeah.
That is my boundary.
Or smoke weed.
Like,
right.
That is as far as
Whatever
I'll
it's
go.
gonna be.
Whatever. For me, it's being really clear about staying focused on why you're there in the first place, because it's very easy to get distracted. It's very easy to put things off, drop a class, and all it does is just prolong the process, and it's expensive. It's very expensive. So have your fun, know your boundaries, and stay on point. If you can't party balls until 4 a.m. and get up for your 10 o'clock class, then don't. Like, you gotta, or figure out a way to do it. Like, you gotta get your ass there.
Yep.
And that's all part of figuring it out too.
I think that's just part of growing up and being an adult at some point. At some point, you got to know when enough is enough and when to go. And I think part of that strategy, the strategy is knowing what you're going to say when it comes up. Like, actually thinking through, because in an altered state, giving the option to be given something else, you're in an altered state. You're not going to make a normal decision. Like, you're by definition already hammered or whatever. And so the point is if you make the decisions in a sane state about what you're going to say when offered, so it's not a peer pressure thing. It's just a solid, hard no. And it might be as simple as, I can't, I've got an exam tomorrow.
Yeah.
I can't, I'm on a sports team and they drug test us. I can't, whatever it is, whatever the answer is, having the answer is part of the strategy.
I like that.
I also think that this goes into an overused statement, but it's so true, is show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
I was going to say, you know, when you have a group of kids and friends that are really intent on graduating and making grades,
everyone does.
We're all at the library together, you know, and when you're studying in a group setting,
and some people are saying, you nerd.
Totally. You know, you're with your friends, you're hanging out. So you don't have like FOMO or anything, which I suffered bad FOMO my whole life until I got old and tired. Like,
I'm still suffering.
I want to be invited, but I do not want to go. Be clear, but my feelings will be hurt if I'm not invited.
So I love that you just said that. So there were 16 of us that got it. Were in the same pledge class in a Texas fraternity, and all 16 of us graduated in 4 years. Of the 16, 14 of us have well higher than the average income. 14 out of 16, kind of crazy kind of numbers, like super successful people.
Yeah.
And we all partied hard together, right?
Yeah.
But the reality was what you said, but we all understood that Trinity University, where I went to school, is super expensive each semester. And that staying for a victory lap is not ideal.
It's really
and so and it's abusive if you're expecting your parent to pay for it.
Right.
It's going to hurt you financially if you have to foot the bill for your student loans for the next 20 years. Whew. And so the decisions that are made there of what do I have to do to make sure I graduate in time? I love that you said earlier, like, why are we here? If you're going to school, it's to graduate.
It's to graduate.
Then the other stuff is for fun around that and learning to learn and having a good time and learn to socialize. And I think it's super important for people to learn how to socialize this day and age.
Yes.
So getting out and experiencing that is important, because so many people these days are stuck in their damn phone or texts and emails. Like, I want to hire people as an employer that are normal fucking human beings that could have a conversation, look me in the eyes, and are, you know, charismatic and charming, and those skill sets that you learn
by talking to people.
By talking to people and looking them in the eyes, right?
Yeah.
And so I really think that piece is really important of if you are in a house or renting an apartment or whatever, and you're looking at these people like, man, they're a lot of fun, but they're going to die in a ditch one day.
Yes.
Or they are making some decisions that violate one of your rules, which was, defer pregnancy for a couple extra years. Or you get the whole idea. You got to separate yourself at some point.
Yes, you do. Yes,
because eventually you'll be doing the same thing real quick. It's just,
I had some roommates that got into some pretty bad shit, and I never did. My boundaries were so
hard
set.
And fast.
They were just like, so I just told them they were dumb all the time, but it's fine. Work.
Oh yeah.
Work. Get a job.
I had to. That you had to as well, right?
Yeah.
Your brother was a good example for you, though, right?
Very, very good. Yeah. But it's just like we say about kids. The busier they are, it keeps them out of trouble. And here's what I've learned too. It also keeps me and my husband out of trouble because we're always focused on something. We're always having something to do. So it eliminates hey, just stay for one more drink. I can't. Yep. I have to, we have this or that or whatever.
Yep.
And I think the same thing applies in college. So
it's funny that you say that. So, if you haven't listened to our first episode, like, I'm super grateful for what happened to me with my dad and my mom, but they basically cut me off after my first 6 months of my freshman year. And probably the most formative, conversation of my entire life was when my dad said 5 sentences. He said, Josh, mom and dad are getting a divorce. Somewhere in here, the attorneys blew your college fund. So drop out of college and go to work now, or work your way through college. Let me know. And he hung up on me. And so as painful as that conversation was, I'm super grateful it happened at the time it did, because I'm at a private school that was super expensive. It's, yes. I think even back then it was $36,000 a year. It wasn't cheap, and that was 20 years ago. I can't imagine what it is now.
Yeah.
And so my ego of, I want to graduate, B, I've already got my friends here, made me go get a job. And so, yes, I did take out some student loans, but they're super defrayed by the fact that I was working through it as well. So I wasn't piling on. And, whether I do think as a skill set, by the way, mandatory for my 3 children. All of them have to be waitresses and bartenders at some point in their life. Mandatory.
100%.
Believe it or not, as a skill set, I think is a highly desirable skill set. As long as you can stay out of the other stuff that comes with it.
That would be my asterisk.
Right. There's an asterisk, but
there is the restaurant scene can be a little rough.
Yep.
And so, having those conversations with your kids.
Yep.
Or reverse psychologying them and saying,
yep.
whatever.
But when you're thinking about like an entrepreneurial spirit, understanding like you get out of what you put into,
right.
like all those things, learning how to socialize, learning how to time manage, learning how to read people, learning how to give great customer service, learning how to take a bullet when somebody's pissed.
Exactly.
Like all those things are
stiff.
great. But going back to your point, work during college is super, super important, or just work as soon as you get out of school. And take it a step further. If you had an 8-hour shift and that's all you got, work extra. Like your energy level's the highest it's going to be at 18 to 25. It doesn't get easier at 40. And so putting the extra time in at that time to get a second job, to make a little bit extra money, to get a little bit further ahead, to be able to do the trips that you want to try when you can't afford it.
Yeah.
Like,
I was always like the richest of all my friends because and getting, this goes into efficiency. Like getting a job.
For the record, the richest of all your friends with about how much extra cash was all it was. Like, I'm just curious.
Huh?
Like you said, I was the richest of all my friends. But what does that really look like in college? Like, what's required to be rich? Because I have a number in my head.
I have no idea. Well, I don't know.
Well, I can tell you this much. Outside of paying for room and board, $1,000 a month, I could do everything I wanted to do.
Everything, yeah.
Everything. Like, we're not talking about being filthy rich. We're talking about having $1,000 extra to buy whatever, do whatever, have a few drinks, whatever. Go on a couple of good dates instead of like creeper dates.
I'm thinking like I would make probably $300 a shift, and I worked 3 days a week, and my bills were way less than that.
Well, you should work 7 days a week and take an extra hours.
I didn't need to. I wouldn't have made. The thing is I wouldn't have made that amount of money. I picked the best days.
Yep.
So it's like, and you go in, you work the entire shift, which is 5 to 2 a.m. or actually 4 a.m. Right? Stay the whole time and cut one worthless bartender. So now you're down to 2.
That's right.
So you're making more there, and you only have to do it 3 days a week.
Yeah, I really think that working through, like, I've thought about this because I have the means to pay for my kids' college, and like they never have to work. And I've talked to Christy about this a couple of times. Like, no, they're going to have a job. They have to have a job, because you don't want to start practicing your job when you finally have to go get one.
Yeah.
Because I missed shifts before, and I've been fired before, You're too good at 2 shoes. Have you actually been fired before ever?
Okay, so this is a funny story. I was the manager attempted to fire me. And it was on bucket night. Uh-huh. So, Randy came in. Randy worked there too. And so we had a system of, if they have enough for a bucket, we just tally their beers. And like if they had enough, then we'd like ring in a bucket. If they only had 3, then we'll just ring in 3. But we'd tally them out. And we had done that forever. And this manager, he wanted to date me. He was very, very into me. And jealous of Randy. And he was like, I don't see your ticks or hashes or whatever. I'm like, they're right here. Anyways, he fired me. And then the owner called me later that night and said I was not fired. So I don't really know if you can count that as being
really
fired.
Other than
that, I have never been fired.
I've been fired. I know what it feels like to be the bad employee.
Where were you fired from? What are you getting
fired
for?
3-4 companies.
Sigman.
I was when I was. Let's get this right. I missed a shift one time.
You got fired for missing a shift?
Yeah, but it was the first day.
What?
I
don't really know if that can. Okay.
I missed the first day. Let's just say it a different way. I was about 2 hours late to the first day, and when I walked in, I said, "Okay, this is your last day. This is how we're going to start off. It's not going to work." So that did happen. I worked at a grocery store when I was a kid, and there was a line, and you had 30 minutes to eat a lunch or whatever. And normally what I'd do is literally go buy a 50 cents or 49 cent can ravioli or something just to have lunch there. It's a grocery store.
You forgot to pay for it.
No, I didn't forget to pay for it. I didn't pay for it. I thought there was a line, so I decided I was going to eat it first, and then I was going to go pay for it afterwards.
You just left the change on the counter.
It wasn't about stealing the 50 cents, but rules are rules, and that was theft. So I did get fired.
You should have put the 50 cents in the place of the can.
Right on the shelf.
on the shelf.
Right. So I did get fired for that,
owe you.
and I know how that felt, and I know like the manager actually was apologizing to me as fired me. He's like, but the rules are the rules, and you understand why. I'm like, I get it, but to have there's rules for a reason.
Yeah.
Because not everyone was intending to pay their 49 cents, and sometimes more than 49 cents, right? But I really think that practicing while you're young and that you can make mistakes.
Yeah.
And
well, and I know when I was
yep.
interviewing for jobs right out of college, people were very impressed that I was able to work and graduate in 4 years and be in a sorority and
Yep.
like all the things. They were
Yep.
like, for real? How? I'm like, time
Just
management, baby. It's
That's
my
right.
it's my
That's
thing.
right.
It's
That's
my
right.
jam.
So I think that's a good lesson for everybody. And I'll tell you that a lot of people that are listening to this podcast are trying to build wealth, right? And I know that a lot of this is about money in general. And going back to, you don't have to be in college for this. There's a lot of people that have side hustles that have a full-time job and they've got extra time and they're making the best of it. And there's lots of people that bitch about their circumstances and they do nothing about it. And I'm not impressed with those people at all. But people that are willing to do everything they can at work and then also do a little bit extra because they can squeeze shit in, that's actually kind of impressive to me. And
well, it's also about like, it makes you creative on how to leverage
Yep.
stuff. You know,
Yep.
I mean, my side hustle is a perfect example of that.
Yep.
Like I could not do my side hustle. I've tried many different ways.
Yep.
I'm like, this is just too much time. Like it's not,
Yep.
it doesn't work at all. But I kept trying and exploring and educating myself basically and found the
ways
key.
to do it.
Yeah.
Found ways to do it.
I found the ticket.
And so that goes back to one thing I would go in this vein with I don't want my kid to work or I don't want to work because I'm so covered up with sports and school or whatever. Look at your screen time. Like I hate to say this to everybody, but fucking look at your screen time. Make sure you turn the report on. All smartphones can do it. And if it's telling you that you're averaging 6 hours or 7 hours a day of screen time, get your fucking ass off the couch and go get a job. I don't know what to tell you. It's the truth. And so the reliance on like one that I'm actually irritated about what's happening right now with America. And there's always the exceptions. There's exceptions.
I do have some extreme exceptions in my screen time.
Right. Well, I'm just talking about the forgiveness of student loans.
Oh,
I think it's a fucking mistake.
Okay,
it's entitlement. There, like I said, there's exceptions. For the most part, you had kids that got the benefit of going to a school, and schools are for profit.
I will not allow her loan to be forgiven.
Absolutely not. Like
if there's an option.
Well, you got to go back to Granddaddy's days, and Granddaddy, if you borrowed a nickel and it took him 30 years to pay it back, he pays back the nickel. Like that's just the reality. And so this entitlement of I'm waiting for my fucking handout is going to kill Americans. So if you've got a kid in school, make their ass work. If they're going to take out student loans, understand they're going to pay it for fucking 20 years. And don't give them the out of it's student loan forgiveness. Finish the job, graduate, go get a job, pay it back. Or don't go to college, which there's an argument around that as well.
Absolutely.
If it's a field that does not require a degree that you want to go into, why would you go to get $160,000 of student loans for a field that doesn't require a degree? Like, make that choice if you don't plan to pay it back. Yeah. But you have to understand it. And that really goes into the next piece, which is, for me, everyone has to have a budget. And there's no better place to start a budget than at college or earlier in high school. If somebody's listening and it's getting close, starting a budget is super, super important because it's money in, it's money out. I heard one of yours you brought up that you told me before this was like what did you say about credit cards and credit use? You said basically don't charge up any debts.
Don't accrue debt.
Yeah.
While you're in college.
Outside of student loans, maybe. You should not graduate with debts. Like, I made a couple of bad mistakes, really bad mistakes.
I made terrible mistakes. You can reference them all in season 1.
Yep, me too. How much did you graduate with in debt from college, as far as credit cards and cars and student loans?
So I paid off my car, so that was good. The only debts I had were all credit card related.
And how much were they when you graduated?
It was probably $15,000.
Which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you graduate and you don't have a job yet, it's a lot.
Well, and here's the thing. I bought a house right out of college. In fact, I'm pretty sure we signed remotely. I think I was still in Lubbock. But I had a bank account that my grandfather had set up for us when we were born. It had It had gotten to $3,500 with no one touching it over time. I bought a condo for $100,000. I needed $3,500
for an FHA loan. That's funny.
For an
That's really
FHA
funny.
loan. My mortgage was like $898 a month. Well, that was one paycheck.
Yep.
That was one paycheck. So I was like, I'm going to need to get a roommate. Got a roommate. She ended up going to nursing school in a different state. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do here? And having all of those credit card bills is not cool. It
Nope.
really sucks. I mean,
especially 12, 15, 20%. I mean, they're gouging you as a student.
Oh,
you
yeah.
You have no proven credit, so the rates are high.
Really
higher risk,
high.
higher rewards, and they always try to get you at 0% for 6 months. And I played that whole game of jumping between credit cards until you forgot 1 month, you had one late payment, and no one else will take it now. And
so I never had any late payments, but what got me too was the Victoria's Secret, Express.
Why do you have Victoria's Secret in college? That's weird. I'm just joking. Don't go into details.
I'm like, show of hands of any college student that didn't have a credit card to Victoria's Secret.
It's funny.
All the clothes that we wanted. I mean, we had retail credit cards out the ass.
Yep.
Out the ass. Just paying minimums on them.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
So stressful.
It really goes back to the budgeting system is really money in, money out. And so there's things that you have to say no to, and you should say no to. You know, the reason I was able to get through with limited student loans for what the college cost, right? You got a car loan. There's a story in season 1 that was bad. I graduated and got a new car, and I shouldn't have done that. Credit cards were off the charts. I think at the peak I got up to 30,000. I think I got up to 30,000, and in my mind it was zero interest, so I didn't care, and I'd pay it back one day until I cared. And then, of course, the second that happened, it was like a nightmare. I just got really lucky. My first job, I did really well at it, and but the whole point is that I paid for so much of everything else, and I made choices like with food.
Yeah.
You know, I literally ate tuna fish and mustard for years and years and years. Well, it's super cheap and lots of protein.
And disgusting. That sounds terrible.
I don't eat any more. 3 years is enough. But, you know, you got to make choices and say no to some things, right? And so I got it all paid off very, very, very quickly because I didn't want to ever get engaged or married with all that debt.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bring that. And it showed up when the first house that we bought, my wife qualified. I didn't qualify. I wonder why. I had all this debt on my head.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had to remove me from the loan. And the current house that we still have it in a rental pool. The first house that my wife and I bought together, I'm not on it because of that.
Yeah.
And so looking back, that really stands out. And that actually goes into something that you brought up that I think is super interesting. We've talked about if you can, so maybe a parent's listening to this, if you can buy a house as a rental property for a kid going to college, and they can learn also the value of, hey, like one thing I'm going to do with all my kids, I'm definitely going to do this for them. I will buy a house wherever the college town is so that they can be the landlord. What their rent will be is keeping up with the property.
Yeah.
All the other roommates will pay for the mortgage. Whatever extras will pay for electricity and all that stuff. And then when we sell it in 4 years, why they're going to be motivated to take good care of it is wherever the profit is in that house, they get 50%.
That's a good idea.
So if you take good care of this thing, you're going to have, you know, a nice little check just because you're the landlord. That's how you're going to get paid, right?
Yeah.
But if you shit this thing out, you're going to pay me the loss. So if they want to have a $50,000 loss when we sell in 4 years, no problem. That's going to be on your head too.
Yes.
So I think to me that it goes back to budgeting, working on money, getting a job, buying a house for your kids if you can, or buying one soon after. All that goes hand in hand, but it's money skills.
Yes.
And so
I love that, actually. That's a really good idea.
I think all that comes hand in hand. What's your next one? If not, I've got one. Do internships and get involved. Lots of them.
I did not do a single internship.
I did 3.
Like when you graduated or while you're in school?
In school. In school. The one that stands out to me the most was I worked for a company called Prism Enterprises here in San Antonio. I was on a plane to St. Louis to see my family, and I sat next to this guy, and we were just talking, and he was the owner or president at the time, and we were just talking in general, and he said, hey, do you want an internship? Or I asked him for an internship, and so I went and worked for him. And that was actually, you don't even know this, so I was in marketing for that 6 months.
See, you know stuff.
And I had to create, I bet you I can find them, you'll laugh, but I had to create things for the company. They actually used some of them. And then I also had to do videos. I believe it or not, I had to create the how-to videos for the companies would buy the products, the how this actually works, so that you could basically show that an idiot kid can do it, you can too. But yeah, I got to do that in an intro. Now I learned that that's not my forte, and so I didn't go into that job. But there's a lot of people I know that if they get an internship, they get it their senior year, and whatever that internship is, typically will offer you a job because they basically invested nothing or a lot into you for a lot less cost or no cost at all. Mm-hmm. And so it's like this natural next step. Well, to me, what I see is that's a big win for the company, not necessarily for the student all the time, unless it's the right field, right? Mm-hmm. So people get going down this path of the next step is getting hired on. The next step is, climb that corporate ladder, and they never experience other things that they might have been, gifted at or really in love and enjoy, right. And they get caught in that rat race. And I see a lot of that happen. And so I'm all about internships and doing several different areas of internships as far as different companies and different industries.
I think I may have missed. I just missed class the day that they talked about internships. Like,
that's very possible.
It just never.
It's very possible.
It never registered on my radar.
Yeah. I think this goes back into one of my points.
But I don't know that I would have had time to do an internship because of all the work and school.
You would have, because you had 3 days that you worked at your job, and you might have made a choice to, instead of those 3, do this for some of it. Internships it's not 40-hour work weeks. Internships are very flexible in most cases.
No, they didn't talk about it, or I just, like I said.
No, they for sure did. You went to tech, right?
Yeah.
They for sure have lots of companies lining up to do internships, for sure. All the big schools do.
Definitely did not.
Yeah, and this goes into something that going back to one of my regrets, I fell into one or two things, but like I didn't pursue, is being like getting involved in as many organizations and in the school as you can, especially for the recluses or the kids that are like afraid of this big old world out there, and they sit in their fucking dorm and go to class maybe, or some classes are virtual now.
Yes.
Like getting involved early and often with as many different things that interest you. You'd be surprised. There is for sure your spirit animal best friend in the world at one of those things. Like,
there's so many
I don't
options.
care what it is, and you can call me whatever. Like, I don't care if it's chess or fraternity or athletics or intramurals or
intramurals
the business. I was a part of a business fraternity at one time. Part of a social fraternity at one time.
When we were up at Tech doing orientation, I was like, well, who are these people running orientation? Like, they're so fun. They're so, school spirit to the max, because they're teaching, here's the fight song, here's all the traditions,
getting involved in that makes that community, and you see it. You see kids come back after the first semester or first year. They'll come back home. It's because they never got engaged. They never pursued that. And so every school has some sort of website bulletin board that you can go to that shows every activity known to man. There's something for everybody. There
is. And the best thing about college is like, there's no nerds. There's something that's nerdy, like in high school or whatever, you may have felt insecure about doing something, and that there is none of that in college. It is such a great place.
Get involved politically, things like that. I find, student council, even if that interests you down the road, I think it's super important to be part of that stuff. I'll also tell you that a big miss that I had coming out of it, that I should have, by being involved in this school, it really helps you out, is when you get wired into organizations that require moderation by the teachers, the staff, the professors, the admin. Those people can also help you get a fucking job. Mm-hmm. Like, those are the ones that you've been working. You've shown that you're a disciplined kid that volunteered, helped the school, helped the community for the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and now you're saying, hey, professor. Is there a company or a person that you know or a former student that you can introduce me to? That is a path. That is an absolute path to something that you might want to do. And it's definitely a leg up for sure. Like, I still get calls all the time from a current or former student from Trinity saying, hey, I'm thinking about getting in the mortgage industry. It's like, fantastic. I'd love to talk with you about it.
Yeah.
And that might be from a different state or a different city, and I can't help them, but I'll still help them. Yeah. Because it was an ask from my alma mater, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's something, is just get involved early, get involved often. Be careful who you hang out with, right? Show your friends, show you the future. Mm-hmm. But there's somebody for everybody.
Totally.
Gaming. I'm sure there's like gaming communities. I would never do that, but
I mean,
I'm sure there are at every college. There's something for everybody.
There's something for everybody, for sure. For sure.
Moving on. All right, here's something I did better in college and that I screwed it off for about my 30s. So one thing I've been asked this question a lot recently. I don't know why. 3 different people now, 3 different social media channels have asked me the same question. It's like, what's one piece of advice you would give anyone knowing what you know now, going back, what would you do differently?
Mm-hmm.
And my answer is don't take your youth for granted.
Yeah.
Like, understand that the body's a fucking temple.
Jeez.
And the way it's built at age 18 and 20 and 25 and what you can do and what you can experience, all that stuff.
Golly.
It goes away way quicker. And so I was actually overweight back in my earlier years, back in my mid-school years, things like that. But I put a lot of time into working out back in college, and I got in my opinion, my ideal shape with a lot of help from testosterone and other normal things that happen
Yeah.
at that age, right? So I get that. I got a job, and then my job required a lot of hours in an office, and I gained weight in my 30s for sure. In my 30s, I didn't take full care of myself for at least, it was probably a 6 or 8 year run where I didn't see a gym. I didn't run 1 mile. I didn't walk a mile. I didn't eat well. I did whatever the hell I wanted to do. And then when I'm like looking down the barrel of turning 40, man, it took 2 years to get back to not close to what I was like in my 20s, right?
Oh, man.
And so the understanding that, one simple question I was just asked actually this week was, if you could be the richest man in the world, or you could be have the best health in the world, what would you pick? My answer is health, because there's a lot of dead millionaires, there's a lot of dead billionaires, there's a lot of millionaires and billionaires that are trying to pay to beat cancer or whatever.
Yes, because
that
it's very
money
stressful.
money does not solve that problem. And
Doesn't
so
solve that problem.
you got to enjoy it, and you got to like take care of it, and like whatever habits you're creating in high school, college, or leaving high school and going into the working world, that will carry you further than you think.
Yeah,
but it's got to be a priority. It's got to be a daily priority, a daily routine. This is what I do. And so that leads to some things that I used to do that aren't healthy, like drinking every day, right? Just because you can, and just because you don't get hangovers doesn't mean it's healthy to your temple, to your body, to drink every day, right?
Yeah.
And so making those choices early on and getting in a better habit early on, that stretching is a great example. There's some freaking flexible high schoolers out there that can like put their elbows on the ground that I can barely touch my knees now.
Stretching is very important. I stretched right before the podcast.
Did you really? Oh, I did watch you. I did watch you do that. Yeah. So I'm not joking about that. It is the one thing that you don't appreciate until it's gone.
And it's like, boom, gone.
Yeah. Well, and whatever energy it takes to sustain it is nothing like it takes to get it back. Nothing like it. So to me, that's a really, really important one. So every single day, 2 hours to 2.5 hours a day, every single day through college, no matter what. I didn't care what I did the day before. I always worked out. I always was in the gym. I was always doing something.
Got to go to the rec.
Got to do something. Move your body. What's your next one?
I think I went through my list.
Well, then I'll just finish up my last couple here. This one's going to be a little bit controversial because of one of the guys that asked me advice is in a great long-term relationship. And my answer is don't get married until you're 3 years out of college.
I would have to agree with that.
So let me explain this to some people that have been married for 50 years and disagree with me. You are the minority.
Yes.
It is the exception to the rule. It's not the reality. So there's plenty of articles, and anyone that's older understands that a man's not mature until they're 30. They're like, there's so much change that happens in your 18s and 20s.
Yes.
It's just the truth. So to me, it's great to date for 7-8 years. Hopefully it's the same person, right? Like I met my wife when I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
So I was in college, and I got married when I was 24. So
23.
And I would say that I even felt like I was young getting married, looking back, and there were plenty of tripping stones that could have like derailed our marriage for sure, because I was not mature when I got married, right?
Well, and you just change as a person so much that like my mom always preached, don't get married till you're 30. I'm like, that's not happening because that's not part of my life plan. It's this happens, this happens, this happens.
Right.
And not that I have any regrets, obviously, about us getting married, but I can see clearly what she meant by it.
Yep.
Because
my mom told me the same thing.
Who we were
Exact
then and who we are now, we've just changed so much. Luckily, the inner core hasn't changed.
Right.
Otherwise, I think that's where people start to part ways. But
well, I'm gonna give a story for everybody because this is relevant to marriage. Okay, so the biggest financial losses I've ever taken in business, in investments, of them there were two. The top two biggest financial losses. I'd agreed to something. I was going to give a certain amount of money to an endeavor. One of the two is the one that sticks out the most. It was to a bar. And we had a commitment date that he was raising all this money for, that was going to give this money on this date. And literally going up into the last week beforehand, there's something in my gut that was like, I don't know, like this might not be a good choice. But I had given a commitment. And so I saw the commitment through and I lost all the fucking money. My gut was right? And so what I mean by that when it comes to marriage is, I've seen this, I saw with my brother, great example, where the train starts moving and the relationship starts developing, and one of the two usually is more ready to get married than the other. Mm-hmm. There's some sort of, in many cases, there's some sort of like, if you're not going to marry me, I'm going to get on with my life kind of moment that happens. And so it's the logical next step. And so all of a sudden engagement things are being sent out and rings are happening and you're inviting people to weddings. Literally I told my brother the day before the wedding, I was like, man, don't do this. I'll walk around and tell everyone the party's over. And they were divorced 1 year later, right? So until the thing is fucking signed, you can still back out.
You can still back out.
And so my point is not like second guess yourself from that perspective, but it is go with your gut.
It is. I've had conversations with, I couldn't even believe it, but over the past 2 years, I would say, because I'm getting to the age where, now friends are starting to divorce and things like that. And it's like the amount of people that have said, I knew it wasn't going to work from
when I got married.
Yeah. From the day I was
So listen to that for you young folk out there. Like the hormones are a real powerful drug, right? But if your gut says no, there's nothing wrong with more time. It's always worse to get divorced and have to unwind it than it is to date longer.
Yeah.
Like just date another year. Date another year.
That's so sad. Like you
it is.
stood there knowing that it wasn't going to work. Like,
and I think that a lot of that goes back to our society's changed where oaths and promises mean nothing to many people. Like if you go back to traditional marriage, you're standing before God and your family saying till death do us part.
Yeah.
Unless I change my mind. Right? I mean, that's what 55% of the world is saying, right?
I know.
Till death do us part unless I change my mind.
Until shit gets hard.
Right. Until shit gets hard. Until somebody gets sick. Until. And it's like, no. I don't think that as a 22, 23, 24, I was not capable of that real choice, of understanding what that really meant. Because there's a whole lot of years after 22, hopefully, 60 more, 70 more years after that you're making a promise at a very young age, right? And so that's what I think our moms meant by, wait till you're 30.
Yeah.
And that would be advice. I have some
single friends that, are in their 30s and are irritated by the fact that they're single. And I'm like, don't be irritated by it. You know who you are now. You can make your list of your perfect man list, your non-negotiables, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's a good thing. So embrace that, lean into it.
And I know that there's always going to be a high school sweetheart story, and I love that. I love that, and just understand that's the exception.
Yeah, it's
the
exception.
Waiting, like you don't have to get married the second you graduate. You don't have to get married the second you go to the military. You don't have to get married the second you get a first job. Like enjoy young life a little bit, and I'm not saying date around. I'm saying enjoy young life a little bit, like enjoy just being single and travel together and do stuff like that, right? So to me, that's something that one of the parents said, I don't agree with that one. It's like, okay, but you were high school sweethearts. That's just not normal, right?
It's just not normal. I did think of one, and it's very quick and simple. Ladies, take care of your face. Always take off your makeup at night, no matter how drunk you are.
That's a funny thing I would never thought of in a million freaking
years. It is.
Okay.
You cannot sleep in your makeup, and you always have to brush your teeth. Wash your face, and you have to brush your teeth. I promise.
That's funny.
Look at this epidermis. I promise.
All right, I got one. These last two for me go hand in hand, and so it turns towards business and long-term stuff. Okay. So I don't know if the record's been broken. but President George Bush, one of the years he was in the White House, sent out 1 million Christmas cards. He broke his own record. The previous year was 660,000, and previous to that, I want to say the Clintons had given out like 330,000 Christmas cards. Okay, there's a story that goes that he got elected because of Christmas cards he started sending back from college, and so what I mean by this, and Ty is one of the young men that I'm talking to a lot right now. I told him flat out, I was like, I'd copy George. This is the senior, by the way, guys. So the point is that what he did is when he left, I think it was Yale, he had a list of all these people that he was classmates with, and he compiled these names and numbers and kept in touch. And he was sending out these, Christmas cards, 500, 5,000, 50,000.
Jeez.
And, 25 years, 30 years removed from college, he runs for president. Now, who would you vote for?
I mean,
the guy that sent you a
no-brainer.
Christmas card for the last 25 years?
Yes.
What kind of doors did that open? Mm-hmm. But the number of people that we interact with at college that we lose contact with, and I know that there's social media out there and Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff, that is a piece of it. But you're also lost in the noise. Like, how, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but how many followers and friends do you have? Thousands that you might not even know, right? Like there's lots of contacts, but it doesn't mean that you're in a relationship. And so the old school kind of, going against like early on, Facebook was effective because you were only agreeing to meet with, only friending your actual friends and staying in touch with your friends.
You had to have a college account.
Right. Early on, that was the way it worked. And so it was successful that way. My point is that was a different grain. This is a different grain that I would give to anyone that will serve you well, especially if you ever have any type of entrepreneurial spirit or political spirit, like a political, going into politics of some sort, or just want to get a door open to a potential job down the road. Like keeping a list of, not the black book, but a list of all the names and numbers of people that you that you were in a relationship with at some point in your life. You start that at age 18. You're opening doors that you did not have access to. So
that's a ringer, folks. That's a good one.
It's a really big one that I wish I had done. And I understand the power of that constant contact now because I'm in business.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand it back then. And so I think the life and the path would have been a little bit easier if I had stayed in touch with everybody. Mm-hmm. So going to how that finishes up, said create an ongoing contact list of people you meet. That's right. So the last piece is take your big risk early. So to me, like, I understand personalities. Some personalities drift towards safety and security, and others are more risk prone, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying take risks from a standpoint of risking your life or even risking a love life, right? But the flip side is, if you see somebody you're attracted to in a class, like walk up to them.
Yeah.
Like take that risk early on, because it's a compounded muscle that is going to get better over time or going to get worse over time. If there's an opportunity for a team to walk on, like I don't give a shit if you don't make it. Like go walk on if you take that shot, take that risk, right? And I also think that goes to when you leave college, before you're married and before you have kids, is the only time that you really have freedom. Truthfully, when you have a little bit of pocket money, you have no responsibility to anybody other than yourself. That's when you could go work for somebody in Europe. That's when you could take a year off to go travel the world. That's when you could make the shot at an entrepreneurial thing. Because once you have, for me, as a man and women fall in the same thing now, it's the same. Once you have a family at home, and or somebody that has roots in a place that they don't want to leave.
Mm-hmm. Got something to lose.
Ball and chain is real, and it's not a bad thing, but it's real.
It's real,
right?
Yeah.
So I would like to go do all these other things from my bucket list. It's going to have to wait. I would like to go travel and see all these other things at some point. Some of them are going to have to wait.
Yeah.
None of that shit had to wait when I was 22.
Exactly.
None of it had to wait. And so taking the risk for a business that you were like, I want to maybe try this on my own. I want to start this new company. Go for it.
Yeah.
And the worst case scenario is you're bankrupt by yourself, but there's no starving child. There's no starving child.
Exactly.
It's the truth.
Yes, agree.
So
preach.
To me, that's how I'd finish this episode personally.
I love that. Great advice. I love it. All right. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Share it with your friends and family, especially if you have people that are going off to college.
Just leaving school. Just leaving high school. When they're leaving the nest, some good advice for them.
Or just started college, or just ended college,
Yep.
or just really anyone, right? Just really anyone.
And a shout out to Quaid and Ty. Those two are the ones that inspired this episode. Two great young men. Super proud of them.
Very cool.
Super proud of them.
I love that. All right. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and send us emails if you have comments at sigmansense@gmail.com.
We'll see you next time, guys.